more that unites us than divides us. It is to make just such a difference that whilst hosting the MED9 group, Malta embraced the opportunity to deepen our work. For the first time, not only have heads of state and government come together, but we have also brought together from across the MED9 ministers with immediate responsibility in the areas where we face the most urgent of issues. Their job has been to dig into the detail and develop plans for immediate action. And their conclusions have been very important in framing today's declaration. As 9 nations, in many ways, we couldn't be more different. Different languages, different stories, a different heritage. But we are all united by the shimmering beauty of the Mediterranean Sea. And I'm sure you'll understand me for regarding Malta as the jewel in the crown. We also saw the power of the Mediterranean story this summer when creative talent from our nations came together to share their work in the first ever Mediterranean Film Festival. The films are just like our countries, different but sharing common experiences. All our countries are bonded by our outward-looking maritime traditions, by the knowledge that we can best face the future by seizing those opportunities together. Solutions that benefit the whole of Europe, that bring benefits for each and every member state. Because every member state knows that there cannot be a stable, peaceful, and prosperous Europe without a stable, peaceful, and prosperous Mediterranean. Events which unfold in the Mediterranean do not just stop at our borders. All the EU is impacted by what goes on in the Mediterranean. As the MED9 nations, we believe that EU-Southern Mediterranean relations need a reset. We will continue to work together to ensure that our southern neighborhood remains high on the Union's agenda, to advocate for that relationship to go beyond aid, and instead help empower our southern neighbors to invest in skills so that they can tap into the tech revolution and develop their own economies to their full potential. This, however, must be a tailored approach. Clearly, irregular migration flows from the southern Mediterranean impact the whole of Europe. Tackling these flows is a priority for governments across our continent. As the MED9, we recognize the need for a sustained and holistic European response. So, we urgently reiterate the call on the co-legislators to step up negotiations on the Pact on Migration and Asylum to reach agreement before the end of the current legislative term. The Pact must ensure that the needs of frontline states will be met. The rate of return of failed asylum seekers has to be improved. It is vital that smuggling networks are dismantled. But ultimately, the issue needs to be tackled at source. To help achieve that, we underline the need to urgently build more robust, comprehensive partnerships with all our partners in the southern Mediterranean. Therefore, we welcome the package of immediate assistance for Tunisia announced last week by the Commission. This now has to be delivered. I must also thank Prime Minister Meloni and President von der Leyen for their important role in bringing about that agreement. Over recent months, we have seen just how exposed the Mediterranean region is to the impacts of climate change and the devastating consequences of natural disasters. We send our deepest condolences to the people of Libya and Morocco. As good neighbors, we will continue to offer support to their recovery and rebuilding efforts, but also within our own countries, climate change has been taking its toll. There couldn't be a stronger reminder that there must be no let-up in efforts to combat both the causes and the effects of climate change. We need to look again at how we adapt to climate change and how the Union addresses civil protection and also crisis management. Of course, no nation is immune from either climate change or national or natural disasters. But it is also clear that the countries of Southern Europe are particularly vulnerable. And it is also clear that the Union's current policies and also the budget are simply insufficient to cope with a period of such natural disruption. Therefore, I welcome the efforts spearheaded by Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis to reform the way the EU responds. Thank you, Kyriakos. Yes, as Mediterranean nations, we are at particular risk from rising temperatures, but we are also able to make a particularly positive contribution to ensuring Europe's energy independence and delivering a clean, decarbonized energy future. Which is why I am especially proud that earlier this year, our 9 nations signed the Malta Statement, which was not some grand statement of intent, but a real roadmap to building a Mediterranean green energy hub, helping our neighbors to both decarbonize and also increase their energy supply as our economies expand, helping to harness the huge potential of solar from our North African neighbors, tapping into the potential of sharing energy, ensuring the whole Mediterranean benefits from security of supply. Dear colleagues, dear friends, climate and the technological revolution are the most fundamental changes that our societies face. At times, the pace of that change can seem overwhelming. Citizens can feel a sense of loss of control. That's why I am determined that we can and must get the future right. So I was determined that as part of bringing together the Med9, Malta would bring the Mediterranean's digital ministers together to look at the coming artificial intelligence revolution, to seize what Commission President Ursula Von der Leyen has described as the narrow window of opportunity to guide this technology responsibly. Malta here is already leading the way with the use of AI in transforming the delivery of public services, and as the Med9, we have also committed to sharing best practice using AI to combat cybercrime, utilizing it also to better respond to civil emergencies. We cannot stop the AI revolution. We can, however, take the necessary action to harness this revolution for the good of all our citizens. And if our citizens are to feel a new age of security, it is imperative that we work to equip all with the skills for developing digital economy. This is central to building an economy that works for working people, where working people share in the fruits of growth. The single market has been pivotal in fueling the European economy. In this, its 30th year, today, we reaffirmed our commitment to push for its full completion. We must ensure a level playing field where no member state and no region is left behind. What started 3 decades ago as a single market for goods and services must, in its 4th decade, become a true single market in ideas and information. Key to achieving that level playing field is connectivity. As Mediterranean nations, we know just how important the maritime and aviation sectors are to our economies. So we call for the barriers that hinder mobility in our region to be removed, because we have a duty to make sure that the single market fully meets the needs of our citizens. One of those most fundamental needs is for citizens across the whole of Europe to have access to the medicines they need and at a fair price. This is of particular concern to us here in Malta. We cannot expect citizens to feel secure if they are worrying about the supply and price of the medicines they and their families rely on. If Europe fails this test, it fails the most fundamental test of all. So today we again call for a Critical Medicines Act and for work on progress on the Commission's pharmaceutical reform package to proceed. Only then will we be able to ensure sufficient production and availability of the most critical medicines and medical devices across the whole of the EU. Our message here is loud and clear. There is no time to be lost in delivering the secure medicine supply chains our citizens are rightly demanding. To conclude, as the saying goes, the future is coming. Like any change, that can be a scary prospect. But the answer isn't to turn the clock back, nor to throw up our hands in vain and attempt to try and hold off change. The answer must be to take the decisions that can ensure that we get the future right. I'm confident the decisions we have taken here today do just that. I look forward now to seeing just how much progress we have made when we gather next in Cyprus in 2024. Thank you.
The Prime Minister of Italy, Giorgia Meloni.
Dunque, buon pomeriggio a tutti. Voglio ovviamente ringraziare il Primo Ministro Abela per la ospitalità straordinaria, per questa cornice straordinaria nella quale ci ha condotto qui a Malta, in una nazione che chiaramente è unita all'Italia da legami profondi sul piano culturale, sul piano economico, sul piano storico. E voglio ringraziare i colleghi del MED9 per questa discussione molto proficua che abbiamo avuto oggi su alcune delle questioni principali che sono all'ordine del giorno delle dinamiche europee, a partire dal prossimo Consiglio Europeo informale previsto a Granada. Per l'Italia, ovviamente, lo avevamo anticipato con una lettera, la priorità era ed è la questione migratoria e dal nostro punto di vista, e sono contenta per la convergenza che abbiamo trovato in questa mattinata in cui la gran parte del dibattito è stata dedicato alla materia migratoria, è ovviamente tempo per affrontare la questione in modo concreto, strutturale, possibilmente definitivo. E la nostra discussione è ruotata molto intorno a questo. L'Italia chiaramente è, insieme a Malta, insomma insieme alle nazioni di primo approdo, una delle nazioni che oggi patiscono di più la forte pressione migratoria, ma tutti qui siamo consapevoli del fatto che chi ha ritenuto che di fronte alla situazione che sta vivendo il continente africano il problema migratorio potesse essere chiuso dentro i confini di un'unica nazione europea prende chiaramente un abbaglio, sta facendo un grande errore, perché la situazione geopolitica, la situazione della crisi che noi stiamo affrontando racconta bene che, per carità, noi rischiamo di essere le prime nazioni a essere travolte, ma poi in assenza di risposte strutturali tutti quanti verranno travolti da questo problema. Nei giorni scorsi io avevo inviato al Primo Ministro Abela una lettera chiedendo appunto di affrontare questa questione. Lo devo ringraziare per averlo fatto e devo ringraziare i colleghi perché nella dichiarazione finale vi sono molti elementi concreti, seri, che affrontano la questione migratoria, anche molti di quelli che erano stati suggeriti dall'Italia. Il vertice ribadisce qual è la strada da seguire, l'ha detto bene Robert prima di me: contrasto all'immigrazione illegale, lotta senza quartiere ai trafficanti, andare alle cause dei fenomeni di immigrazione e offrire altre risposte a un continente africano che è in estrema difficoltà. In sostanza noi ribadiamo che l'unico modo per affrontare seriamente il problema migratorio, l'unico modo per aiutare i più fragili davvero, a partire da chi ha davvero diritto alla protezione internazionale, è ricondurre la questione migratoria a un fenomeno di legalità. In Europa non si entra illegalmente, non sono i trafficanti a decidere chi può e chi non può entrare in Europa, e dall'altra parte bisogna dare risposte serie a un'Africa che è sempre più in difficoltà. Per attivare per attuare questi principi noi consideriamo che il piano d'azione presentato dalla Presidente Ursula von der Leyen a Lampedusa sia un'ottima cornice di partenza, è però ora fondamentale renderlo concreto e operativo. Abbiamo da questo punto di vista anche col Presidente francese Macron e con Ursula von der Leyen avuto a margine un confronto sui prossimi passi operativi che si possono fare, che si devono fare soprattutto in vista del Consiglio Europeo di Granada. Noi abbiamo come Italia portato ovviamente il nostro contributo alla discussione. Alcuni dei punti più importanti dal nostro punto di vista sono ovviamente il tema degli accordi di riammissione per i rimpatri, che devono essere una questione europea e non gestita dai singoli Stati membri, anche attraverso una lista europea dei paesi sicuri. Bisogna rafforzare la lotta ai trafficanti, puntando soprattutto allo smantellamento delle catene di costruzione dei mezzi utilizzati per gli sbarchi, ai flussi finanziari di organizzazioni criminali che sono sempre più potenti e sempre più lunghe, accordi e sostegno alle autorità del Nord Africa per il controllo del proprio spazio marittimo per bloccare le partenze, immediata attuazione e implementazione del memorandum con la Tunisia, di una partnership che stiamo cercando di costruire con la Tunisia, con i paesi del Nord Africa, e poi dicevo offrire un'alternativa credibile ai fenomeni di immigrazione illegale. E questo vuol dire soprattutto costruire una nuova partnership con l'Africa. Passa da alcune scelte che noi dobbiamo fare. Abbiamo parlato della revisione del quadro finanziario pluriennale 2021-2027. Chiaramente l'Italia, ma anche le nazioni che sono qui, si aspettano che ci siano risorse importanti per aiutare un continente che ha moltissime risorse e che pur tuttavia versa in condizioni di povertà e conseguente instabilità, che è purtroppo il continente che sta pagando di più i risultati, diciamo le conseguenze della guerra di aggressione russa verso l'Ucraina. Il primo tema sono risorse per investimenti che devono essere strategici. Nella crisi che viviamo ci sono alcune opportunità. Penso al tema dell'energia. L'energia oggi è l'elemento che può far tornare il Mediterraneo centrale, che può tornare a legare il destino del continente europeo e del continente africano. Noi abbiamo un problema di approvvigionamento energetico, l'Africa è potenzialmente un enorme produttore di energia, con investimenti e risorse adeguate si può cambiare il futuro e affrontare insieme diversi problemi. La seconda questione è ovviamente il tema della migrazione legale, che deve essere sostenuta dal nostro punto di vista anche da percorsi di formazione nei paesi di provenienza, ma che a mio avviso deve essere anche legata alla capacità che le nazioni hanno di contrastare parallelamente l'immigrazione illegale. Per troppo tempo noi non abbiamo potuto dare risposte adeguate a chi legalmente voleva venire a lavorare in Europa, perché le quote di immigrazione erano tutte coperte da chi entrava illegalmente. Non lo possiamo più consentire. Ovviamente a margine di tutto questo abbiamo discusso di Ucraina, la nostra posizione su questa materia non cambia, continuiamo a garantire il nostro sostegno. Abbiamo parlato di transizione verde, non voglio togliere tempo, chiaramente l'Italia la sostiene, purché venga fatta con intelligenza. Non dobbiamo mai dimenticare che la sostenibilità ambientale deve viaggiare di pari passo con quella economica e sociale. Continuiamo a sostenere la neutralità tecnologica per raggiungere gli obiettivi che ci siamo dati, così come abbiamo parlato delle nuove regole della governance del patto di stabilità. La posizione italiana qui è molto chiara. Noi pensiamo che se l'Europa si è data degli obiettivi strategici, transizione verde, transizione digitale, difesa, poi quegli obiettivi strategici debbano essere riconosciuti e diciamo protetti nelle nuove regole sulla governance. Non possiamo tornare alle regole del precedente patto di stabilità, sarebbe per le nostre economie obiettivamente molto pesante da affrontare, ma dobbiamo anche sapere immaginare nuove regole che sostengano le grandi scelte strategiche che ci siamo date. E non voglio dilungarmi ulteriormente, voglio solamente ricordare che i paesi qui rappresentati, i paesi del MED9, complessivamente rappresentano il 46% della popolazione europea, il 41,5% di prodotto interno lordo, e quindi forse la nostra capacità anche per convergenza di approccio, per convergenza di priorità, la nostra capacità di lavorare compatti può anche consentire di vedere maggiormente diciamo, riconosciuti e attenzionate le priorità che ci diamo. Grazie ancora Robert e grazie a tutti i colleghi.
The President of France, Emmanuel Macron.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Thank you, dear Robert. Thank you, Madam, for hosting us, and I want to thank your people as well. Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Premier ministre, pour ce semaine 9. Je crois que vous avez parfaitement retranscrit le contenu de nos propos et les conclusions qui sont les nôtres. Je voudrais simplement juste ajouter quelques points. D'abord, dire que les 9 pays qui constituent de l'Atlantique jusqu'à la Méditerranée orientale, l'arc que nous représentons ici, sont eux-mêmes touchés par beaucoup de catastrophes naturelles. Et je veux avoir un mot de solidarité pour particulièrement nos collègues grecs et slovènes. Et je sais ce qui vous a touché ces derniers jours, ces dernières heures ou ces dernières semaines, et vous dire combien la France et l'Europe et les collègues ici présents sont aux côtés de vos peuples. Et vous l'avez dit également, je veux ici avoir un mot de solidarité à l'égard de la rive sud de la Méditerranée qui a été durement touchée par des catastrophes naturelles et avoir un mot pour à la fois le Maroc et la Libye. Car la Méditerranée, c'est ainsi que nous envisageons la formation que nous représentons, est un espace de solidarité face à ces catastrophes. Et c'est pourquoi l'agenda que nous avions ensemble dessiné à Alicante, qui conciliait à la fois compétitivité et transition climatique, doit aussi embrasser notre capacité à réduire nos émissions et être une région à neutralité carbone en 2050, mais à également investir en termes d'adaptation et de prévention comme de réaction aux catastrophes naturelles. Et je soutiens à cet égard pleinement les propositions qui ont été faites par le Premier ministre de la Grèce à cet effet en ce qui concerne nos investissements européens. Nous avons ensuite couvert tous les sujets qui ont été rappelés à l'instant par la présidente du Conseil italien et le Premier ministre maltais, un soutien constant et continu à l'Ukraine, une volonté de poursuivre l'affirmation et l'approfondissement de la politique industrielle de l'Union et une détermination claire pour faire de notre Europe un leader de la transition écologique et de la transition numérique. Et au fond, cet agenda que nous avons défini à Versailles en mars 2022, qui est celui d'une plus grande souveraineté européenne sur le plan militaire, technologique, économique, et celle que nous devons continuer de poursuivre, et celle dans laquelle nous nous retrouvons tous très profondément. C'est ce qui justifie le soutien ici unanime à une Europe qui investit davantage et qui sait réformer sa gouvernance économique pour tirer les conséquences de ce nouveau contexte. Nous aurons l'occasion d'y revenir lors du Conseil européen informel le 6 octobre à Grenade, à l'invitation du Premier Sanchez, ainsi que lors du 3e sommet de la communauté politique européenne. Pour conclure, je voudrais simplement revenir sur la question migratoire qui a été évoquée. La situation que nous vivons depuis plusieurs mois est la situation exceptionnelle à Lampedusa par son ampleur appelle très clairement une réponse européenne unie et nous conduit tous à faire preuve de solidarité avec l'Italie, comme nous devons faire preuve de solidarité avec tous les pays de première entrée. Car c'est toucher le sol italien dont il s'agit, et quand la Grèce ou l'Espagne le vivent aussi, nous devons avoir la même solidarité. À ce titre, je veux remercier la présidente de la Commission pour le plan d'action en 10 points qu'elle a très rapidement présenté pour répondre à ces enjeux. Nous avons eu, comme le rappelait à l'instant la présidente du Conseil Meloni, une discussion avec elle-même et la présidente de la Commission Von der Leyen et proposer à nos collègues une mise en œuvre opérationnelle de ce plan en 10 points, de manière très concrète, qui doit nous conduire justement à finaliser les choses. D'abord, il y a une discussion européenne, comme vous l'avez dit, dont je souhaite également qu'elle puisse se parachever dans les jours à venir et qui nous permettra d'améliorer notre fonctionnement interne pour le pacte d'asile et migration. J'espérais qu'elle puisse se finaliser dans les tout prochains jours. Et nous y œuvrons ensemble. Ensuite, nous souhaitons améliorer la dimension externe et améliorer le partenariat concret avec les pays d'origine, particulièrement en Afrique, et les pays de transit, particulièrement de la rive sud de la Méditerranée. Et donc, les propositions opérationnelles qui sont les nôtres sont des propositions d'un partenariat respectueux, visant à apporter des moyens financiers, des coopérations techniques, mais à lutter de manière très concrète contre les trafiquants d'êtres humains qui profitent de la misère de celles et ceux qui prennent tous les risques, parfois conduisent au pire dans la mer Méditerranée, et nous conduisent à supporter cette pression migratoire qui est aujourd'hui la nôtre. Nous soutenons le plan en 10 points et nous souhaitons donc à cet égard avoir une traduction la plus rapide possible avec nos principaux partenaires de la rive sud, plus particulièrement la Tunisie et la Libye, pour pouvoir avancer en ce point. À nouveau, merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Premier ministre Robert, pour le compte-rendu exhaustif que vous avez fait de nos travaux et surtout pour avoir accueilli cette discussion à mes yeux extrêmement utile dans ce moment. Je ne reviens pas sur tous les autres points que vous avez parfaitement détaillés. Je vous remercie à nouveau et souhaiter une bonne présidence de notre groupe à Chypre qui reprend le flambeau pour l'année prochaine.
After Cyprus will take the role
The
next
Prime
year.
Minister of Greece, Kyriakos Mitsotakis.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. And Robert, thank you for the wonderful hospitality. Fantastic location you picked for this gathering. And thank you also for very comprehensively summarizing the discussion that we had and which was put on paper in the declaration that was just agreed. I don't want to repeat what was said by the previous speakers. Let me just make three quick points. First of all, on the climate crisis, thank you all for the support you offered Greece during what was a very, very difficult summer where we faced some of the worst fires and certainly the worst floods in our history. And I think it should be evident to all of us that the climate crisis is affecting the Mediterranean in a disproportionate manner. And this should be a reason not just of concern, but of immediate action for all of us. And thank you all for agreeing with the content of the letter that I sent you, which essentially urges us at the European level to place much more emphasis on adaptation and in particular on disaster relief and managing the very costly aftermath of these natural disasters, as both us and our Slovenian friends know very well. But also urges us to cooperate more comprehensively on issues and topics of prevention in order to ensure that there is a reasonable balance between our ambitious mitigation agenda, which however is a long-term agenda, and our immediate adaptation needs, because I feel that this is the only way of making sure that we keep our populations engaged and involved in the green transition. Because right now, it is clear to me that this has not been a balanced approach, especially if we look at the European money that is available for immediate disaster relief. And of course, we should not forget that these disasters don't just affect our countries, our European countries, they also affect the countries of the southern neighborhood. And when a disaster strikes a country that has significant problems in terms of a functioning state, the disaster is multiplied. The same storm that cost the lives of less than 20 people in Greece resulted in more than 10,000 deaths in Libya. And this is just the comparison in terms of the difference that climate change makes when it strikes a well-organized country vis-a-vis a country which is faced with significant problems. Second point on migration, I couldn't agree more with what was said by the Italian Prime Minister, by Giorgia, and by the French President, by Emmanuel Macron, in terms of focusing on the 10-point action plan that was put together by the President of the Commission. I think we have made a lot of progress at the European level in recognizing the importance of the external dimension of the migration problem. And at the end of the day, the need to determine on our own terms who enters the European Union, because this is about us as sovereign states, but also members of our European family exercising what is a right that we can simply not outsource to smugglers, because this is exactly what we are currently doing. It is smugglers who decide who gets to enter the European Union, and this must change. We need to be much more effective in terms of ensuring that unseaworthy boats don't leave the shores of the neighboring countries and put people in risk of losing their lives in what is a very treacherous journey. We need to work more with the countries of transit. We're trying to do that, for example, with Turkey. We need to focus on repatriations. and make sure that people who are not entitled asylum will be returned to the country of origins. And finally, of course, we need to focus on legal pathways of migration if we want to be more vigilant in terms of protecting our borders. The counterbalance needs to be that we offer opportunities to those people who can come to the European Union and help us support our economic growth to do so, but do so in a safe manner and again on our own terms. And finally, on the issues of economic governance, again, full agreement with what was said. Just 2 quick points. We cannot repeat the mistakes of the past, and we know something about mistakes being made at the European level, and essentially forcing countries to a very abrupt fiscal adjustment, which plunged them into a much deeper recession. I think we need to return to the context of the initial proposal of the Commission, which in our mind was very well balanced in terms of giving more flexibility but also ownership to the member states to devise their own fiscal paths in terms of fiscal adjustment. And of course, yes, we need to make space for those critical investments that we need in order to protect our strategic autonomy, whether it's defense or important collective investments in the green transition, because otherwise we will find ourselves in a position where other countries or other major blocs will be making those investments, whereas we are curtailed by the fiscal rules that we impose upon ourselves at a time when we need to invest more. So let me stop here. Thank you again very much, Robert, for the wonderful hospitality, and best of luck to Cyprus. And looking forward visiting Cyprus for the 11th gathering, or what has proven to be, I think, a very successful and very constructive format of cooperation.
The Prime Minister of Portugal, Antonio Costa.
Well, thank you very much, Robert, for your very kind hospitality in this meeting. O Primeiro-Ministro de Malta já teve a oportunidade de fazer uma exposição muito detalhada
opportunity to describe in detail our conclusions, and so I'm going to sum them up in 2 dimensions. So first of all, it's really important to have this meeting because we were a smaller group, we were able to express ourselves freely, and we discussed the central topics of the next informal council in Granada, with the presence also with the Spanish President Pedro Sanchez, and we'll speak about the great opportunities and the great choices that we have to make as a European Union. So we'll have to reform our governmental and economic reforms. We'll have to speak about the investments that we'll have to make, about defense, green transition, climate change, so that we have a more resilient economy, but also the issues, consequences of the pandemic, the Ukrainian conflict. So European Union has to recover. Also, we need to find some adjustments, so our budget structure as a European Union. So in the years to come, our European Union will be a union with more than 30 member states. So we have to verify also the conditions, and we have to be able to welcome all the countries that we invite to enter into the European Union. Another topic that was very important was the focus on global challenges that affects us as southern countries. So first of all, climate change. I wanted to express my complete and utmost support to also Prime Minister Staki, and also I want to express my solidarity with Slovenia and Greece that were recently affected by storms and natural disasters. We are in a place of the world where the consequences of climate crisis affects us, so droughts and floods, and we are very well aware of the importance of the green transition, and so we have to act in a way that we can contribute to reach our goals and the goals of the Paris Agreement and to reduce the global warming. Also, we spoke about the migration issues. So in the Balkanian regions, in the Mediterranean regions, and especially in the eastern part of the Mediterranean, all the countries are on the front line to welcome migrants. This is sadly, one of the main challenges. So we have to understand, to have a common vision on how to manage the migration issues. As Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni said, we have to strengthen our neighborhood and our cooperation with the African countries. So we have to create partnerships to protect human rights, and we have to develop some measures that can reduce the risks for those people and to find new ways. And only a deep work together with Africa will allow us to have a sustainable management of the migration influxes. So, solidarity among all the European countries on the borders, and for that reason, Portugal, since always, has showed collaboration with our officials on the borders, and we develop a good defense and protection job to protect our borders. Also, we have to legalize migration, because that means to tackle human trafficking, to fight against it, and it means also to respect the international law, to protect also the lives of those who are seeking international protection in Europe, and also to create legal migration channels so that the migration influx have a positive impact. So we have to welcome people, and we are speaking of people, human beings, so we have to guarantee their protection both in Europe and both in other countries. So I believe that this meeting, in preparation of the next steps for the European and the specific focus on the realities of our countries, so that was a big step forward, and of course we will continue the next year in Cyprus. Thank you very much.
The Prime Minister of Slovenia, Robert Golob.
Yeah, nope.
It's working.
It works, actually. It is always good to be among like-minded people, and especially good in such a nice setting. So, dear Prime Minister, Abela, dear Robert, thank you for hosting us here, and I'm pretty sure we will remember, all of us, this meeting. Not just because of the nice setting, but also because we had a very fruitful discussions, and all the decisions and conclusions were taken anonymously, which is always the case when we meet. Really, not just as partners, but also as friends. And for that, I'm grateful to all of you. But when you meet with like-minded people, it's very hard to be original and not continue saying the same things and not bore the audience. So I'll try to be as brief as possible, but I'd like to pinpoint two things even so. Today, again, it was shown that there are two principles that we shall adhere to for the future that worked in the past as well, and that is the unity and solidarity. And I think it was shown quite clearly during all the discussions today. Unity when it comes to illegal migration. The only way forward, if we want to find a solution, is to be united. No single state, No single nation can find a solution to this really huge challenge ahead of us. And Mediterranean basin, it is a gateway to Europe. And we need to tackle the issue united. And that's what was shown today. And I fully agree with what Prime Minister of Italy, Meloni, was saying. This is a challenge we shall not fail to address. It is so crucial. The other very important principle is solidarity. Not just solidarity because of the climate change. This is another challenge we cannot really run away from. We need to tackle it immediately. And again, as many of my predecessors were saying, we put lots of money in how to get the green transition, but we are not putting enough money in financial relief after the disasters. And in this regard, we need to change things. We need to really increase the effort in dealing with the disasters. We need to increase the funding in financial relief after the disasters. And I'm grateful to Prime Minister of Greece, Kyriakos Mitsotakis, for his paper and his proposal that the European Union, the European Commission takes into account when dealing with the midterm budget reform, that we need to increase the Solidarity Fund. Not just that, we need to also increase the funding for the migration purposes. We need to come with an action plan that we will back with money, not just with words. And that also applies to the enlargement. We need to come to a common decision on the enlargement of the European Union, and we need to find a solution for the Western Balkans as well. And we need to back that decision with the funding as well. Only with putting the money where our words are, we will show to everyone that we are serious with what we are speaking about. And I think that this is really one thing that we can conclude today. We, from the Mediterranean basin, we stand together, and that's how we will proceed. And that is really a way forward that can bring results.
The President of Cyprus, Nikos Christodoulou.
Let me also start by thanking our host, Robert, for the wonderful hospitality extended to us all in this beautiful island. Although for me it is the first such meeting as President of the Republic of Cyprus, I had previously participated in a number of ministerial meetings at the MED7 and MED9 group. It is very important that this is already the 10th summit at leaders level of the MED9 countries. The fact that our countries have been meeting and coordinating at the highest level for so long constitutes ample proof of our joint willingness to collectively address our common challenges such as migration, climate change, peace and security. The declaration that we adopted today referred to several of the issues affecting us all, starting of course by the illegal Russian invasion to Ukraine, which has ramifications not only for Europe but for the entire world, including of course our neighborhood, with food insecurity being a prime example. Despite the challenges, the Mediterranean region on both shores presents ample opportunities as well, provided, and that's what we are doing, provided that we join forces and work together. I can speak in particular for the Eastern Mediterranean region, where we have, together with Greece, developed a nexus of synergies among like-minded countries, both from within and outside the European Union, and we cooperate tangibly on issues such as energy interconnections, tourism, health, natural disasters, and so on. As MED9, we share a common understanding of the importance of the peaceful and prosperous Mediterranean and of a renewed focus on enhanced relations between the European Union and its southern neighborhood. I welcome the emphasis placed on this issue by the Spanish presidency, and Cyprus, as the next Mediterranean country assuming the EU presidency in 2026, intends to carry this work forward as one of our priorities. Migration is a common challenge for us all, and we discuss ways to effectively address it. I express full solidarity with all affected countries, and in particular with Giorgia, with Italy, which has seen a dramatic increase in arrivals. we support efforts to address this issue, including the Commission's 10-point plan. For Cyprus, which has been receiving the most asylum applications per capita in the European Union for the past 6 years, the issue is very pressing. We need to work with the European Union to complete the Pact on Asylum and Migration, but also with countries of origin and transit, including, of course, our southern neighbors, so as to effectively address the root causes of migration. On the very important issue of natural disasters, all our countries have been affected. Let me also subscribe to the proposal of Kyriakos, of the Greek Prime Minister, to collectively, as MED9, raise the issue of natural disasters with the rest of our partners in the European Union, with the view of reinforcing the Solidarity Fund. We are also, as President of Cyprus, I'm very grateful of the continual support by the MED9 countries on efforts to break the deadlock and resume negotiations for the solution of the Cyprus problem within the UN-agreed framework. It is very important that our declaration today reaffirms the agreed basis, as well as the need for increased European Union involvement in the process at all stages and with all means, including by appointing an European Union representative. Let me close by repeating the need for increased cooperation between our 9 countries, especially in the current geopolitical context, but also in view of the upcoming European elections and the new European Union leadership that will take over in a year. I therefore particularly welcome the efforts made by Malta to reinforce cooperation at the MED9 level, including with convening more ministerial meetings on energy and digital. We are delighted to take over from our Maltese friends, from the one superpower of the Mediterranean to the other superpower of the Mediterranean, and I'm looking forward to welcome all of you in Cyprus. Thank you very much.
The Prime Minister of Croatia, Andrej Plenković.
Good evening. First of all, thanks to Prime Minister
Boa tarde. Obrigado, Primeiro-Ministro Abela, pela bela acolhida aqui em Malta, e quero agradecer também pelo encontro bilateral de ontem, cheio de conteúdos e também muitos conteúdos hoje. Eu quero apresentar 3 pontos. Eu acho que essa vai ser a conferência mais longa da história, mas tivemos uma conversa muito aberta, muito boa. É a criação também de uma atmosfera familiar entre os 9 Estados-membros, antes do Conselho Informal, antes do encontro de Granada. E isso nos permitiu abordar as questões chaves na União Europeia, mas também a nível internacional. Quero renovar o nosso compromisso para a Ucrânia, que está enfrentando agressão.
Who is the aggressor and who is the victim and who should be supported and to whom we should extend our solidarity. Second point is the illegal migration, a topic that has overwhelmed the agenda of many European states, whether we are confronted with the central Mediterranean route or the western Mediterranean route, or as some of us more eastern Mediterranean or western Balkans route. The key to the solution is partnership and work and use of all of the foreign policy mechanisms of the European Union with the countries of origin of migrations, more closer cooperation with countries of transit, harmonized visa policy, but also the solidarity among us as members of the European Union. And therefore, the positive steps that we have done over the past years should be continued, in particular, given the difficult situation that Giorgia has explained, notably for Italy, but we also understood difficulties that also the future presidency of Euromed9 is facing in Cyprus. In our part of Europe, I think, especially for Robert and myself, we are facing similar situation, but not as dramatic as the arrivals by boat across Mare Nostrum. Another point which I think is critical today is our common understanding of prioritizing the revision of the multi-annual financial framework. And that will certainly be featuring the issue that has hit all of our countries, whether it's this year or last year or previous years, this year in particular, the horrible fires and floods in Greece, where Croatia extended support to Greece by sending 3 times our firefighting planes to assist our Greek friends, or to Slovenia, which has witnessed biblical floods at the beginning of August. My country had the biggest storms ever since the measurement of the hydrometeorological situations in the last 160 years in the mid of July. The answer is very clear. The climate change is changing the environment of our daily life, and therefore being really grateful for the European Union Solidarity Fund that helps the countries to, I would say, rectify the immediate damages of various natural disasters. I think in the future, because it is highly likely that this will be something that will reoccur and repeat, we should allocate more funds in the future, including now with the revision of the multi-annual financial framework. On the economic governance, I believe that all of us, but also our friends and partners within the EU, are looking forward for the reports on competitiveness, on reports on single market, and given the global economic context, strengthening the role of the European Union vis-à-vis the other actors globally who are all also trying to improve their competitiveness, and thus we should ensure that measures we have taken over the past years, nationally and European-wide, by strong state interventionism, keep the social cohesion in our societies, avoid the social fracture, and we emphasize what we can do better within the Union rather than what we would have been able to do on our own. Thank you, Robert, and I look forward for the next summit in Cyprus next year. Thank you.
The Spanish Secretary of State responsible for the European Union, Pascual Navarro Ríos.
Muchas gracias y enhorabuena, primer ministro Abela, por organizar esta cumbre y acogernos en La Valeta y en esta fabulosa ciudad de Mdina. Es un honor representar a España en nombre del presidente Sánchez en esta cumbre. Como saben, el año pasado España acogió la cumbre en Alicante y para el presidente Sánchez hubiera sido un auténtico placer poder estar hoy aquí con todos ustedes y contribuir a la consolidación del MED9 como un grupo de coordinación para la agenda europea. Los retos comunes tanto del norte como del sur del Mediterráneo deben abordarse desde un enfoque común y es en este contexto en el que el MED9 tiene un gran valor para todos nosotros. Como países mediterráneos es lógico que tengamos una especial sensibilidad por la vecindad sur, pero la vecindad sur no es solo un asunto de los países mediterráneos, nuestra relación con la región es clave para el conjunto de la Unión y más aún en el contexto geopolítico actual. Para aumentar la visibilidad y la importancia estratégica de la relación con nuestros vecinos del sur en la agenda europea, necesitamos trabajar de manera más institucionalizada en todos los niveles y, en este sentido, en la declaración de la cumbre del MED9 que hemos aprobado hoy, se recoge nuestra voluntad de que se organice próximamente una cumbre entre la Unión Europea y la vecindad sur y también de que se sienten las bases para el proceso de revisión de la nueva agenda mediterránea en el año 2024, cuestión que se va a preparar próximamente en la conferencia ministerial que tendrá lugar en Barcelona. Hemos abordado especialmente la cuestión de la dimensión externa de la migración. Y aquí debemos mantener un enfoque preventivo y global, basado en una relación de confianza con nuestros socios terceros. La política de migración exterior es clave y debe contar con medios ambiciosos. Además del Mediterráneo, hemos intercambiado impresiones sobre cuestiones trascendentales de la agenda europea que se discutirán en los próximos consejos europeos en Granada y en los próximos consejos durante la presidencia española del Consejo de la Unión Europea. Nuestro objetivo como presidencia es canalizar y contribuir a estas reflexiones concentrándonos en los siguientes expedientes ya mencionados por todos los primeros ministros que me han precedido. Pero insisto, marco financiero plurianual, trabajar para alcanzar un acuerdo antes de fin de año. Migración, se trata de un reto europeo esencial, lo han dicho todos los profesores también, y nuestro objetivo es concluir las negociaciones del Pacto de Migración y Asilo y esperamos especialmente la contribución de todos para llegar a este acuerdo. Competitividad, que es la prioridad destacada por el presidente Sánchez para la presidencia española, reindustrializar Europa y garantizar su autonomía estratégica, y será uno de los temas que abordaremos en Granada. Y por último, ampliación, que nuestro deber es prepararnos adecuadamente para este reto y impulsaremos todos los debates necesarios para ello, y será un tema central en Granada. Solo querría, al ser el último en intervenir, sumarme y reiterarme a los mejores deseos para Chipre, que será el próximo organizador de esta. Muchas gracias.
This press statement has come to an end. Thank you.
under a bad sign. I've been down since I began to crawl. Oh, if it wasn't for bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. Hard luck and trouble is my only friend. I've been on my own since I was 10, born under a bad sign. I've been down since I began to crawl. Oh, if it wasn't for real bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. I can't read, didn't learn how to write. My whole life has been one big fight. Born under a bad sign. I've been down since I began to crawl. Oh, if it wasn't for real bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all. Wine and women is all I crave. A big-legged woman's gonna carry me to my grave. Born under a bad sign. I've been down since I began to crawl. Oh, if it wasn't for real bad luck, I wouldn't have no luck at all.
Radio Swiss Jazz. Music pure.